I welcome you to another session on my channel, on my morning live session as we Hello, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Happy Friday to everyone in the house, and I welcome you to another morning live session on my channel. Well, this session started a little bit late. I'm still trying to figure out my way around the YouTube live functions, but I was able to sort out some things, so that's why I had to push the session a little forward to 8:30. So once again, I welcome you all to yet another session. So we shall be diving right into the chat as we really do not have any major macroeconomic event to look forward to for today. So we're definitely going to be looking at the market structure from a technical standpoint. Now, as usual, the first pair we are going to, the first commodity we are going to be looking at this morning is the US oil. And in fact, we have been monitoring this pair since the beginning of the week, and we have been quite profitable. And I would like to take us through how the week has gone by so that we can have a summary of what is going on in this market on the 1 hour time frame before we talk about what is going on at this point. So we saw the situation here. We have been buying the US oil actually since the beginning of the week, and it was after identifying a channel which we saw between the $76.68 level, which was the resistance point of the channel initially, and then we saw the support level of the channel at the $75.80 area. So we were looking forward to either a breakout or breakdown of that channel to give us a trading opportunity. But what happened here was quite interesting as we saw a sell signal which happened at the breakdown of the $75.80 level a couple of times, and that gave us like 50 pips thereabout before we started seeing that buy momentum resume again. And what we saw here was something that looks like a reversal pattern in the form of a double bottom structure. And with a reversal pattern sitting right above that bearish trend line we identified at the beginning of the week, it was a beautiful opportunity to join a bullish momentum. So with a reversal pattern like this, so we had a double bottom structure where the neckline sits exactly between that important key level we identified on my US oil video. So if you have not watched that video, you might want to look at it in the detail box in the below this video, so if you can have a better perspective into what I'm talking about here. So we had the neckline sitting around the $76 area and the $75.80 level. So we were waiting for a breakout retest of that structure to trigger our buy stop order. And it was interesting that we had price action breakout retest that structure a couple of times, and it was at this point we started buying the US oil for this week. And we continue to add more position to our existing trade at breakout of structures like the $76.68 level. Remember that level was serving as the initial resistance point for the week after we started seeing selling pressure resume around that area. So we added another position at the breakout of that structure. We had another one here at the retest of that level, and in fact price action moved about on our first position we had about 200 pips approximately, and the second position gave us about 100 pips before the sell pressure began in this market. Now when we fast forward to Tuesday's morning live session, this is what we saw here. We saw that as soon as price got into the structure at the $77.85 level, and in fact it was between the $77.85 and the $77.40 area, we started seeing selling pressure resume around that area. And as a result of that, we were anticipating that the sell pressure here could trigger a sell-off in this market. And if we look at the bullish trend line that we spotted here since the beginning of the week, we said if price action breaks down that $77.40 area, which also shares a beautiful confluence with that bullish trend line, we shall definitely be having our sell position triggered around that area. And in fact, we had a sell position triggered. Price action moved about 120 pips in our favor before another wave of bullish momentum started in this market. Now fast forwarding into what happened during the live session yesterday, so I will just go into the new chart I spotted during our live session yesterday, where I identified a channel between the $77.50 level and the $76.68 area. And in addition to this channel, we had this bullish trend line to further emphasize the strength of the buyers, at least for this week. And so we had a bullish trend line there, we had a flat channel, and we were hoping that this channel would transition into a trend continuation pattern. And one thing I told you yesterday is that the breakdown of the $77.50 level will be triggering a sell position for us. And in fact, I think during the live session we had that position triggered, but unfortunately we were taken out of that position as price action broke above the $77.50 area, did a retest of structure to trigger a buy position. And if you are taking advantage of that opportunity, kudos to you for being on standby to catch that move, as you will currently be running with about 55 pips in profit at this point, though it's quite a little bit slow as price has been consolidating within the channel since the early trading session yesterday. So we have a situation where price is still consolidating, which further emphasizes the indecision in this current market. So at this point in time, it is very important that we remain very patient here to look out for either a breakout or breakdown of this channel. I shared this on my public platform this morning, where I said, hold on a second, let's pull that out. So I shared this on my public platform this morning, where I said we shall be looking forward to either a breakout or breakdown of that channel. So this was shared this morning. So I was anticipating price will probably break out of the $78.30 level, since we have been bullish since the beginning of this week. So let's look forward to see how this is going to play out in the next couple of hours. It appears we're already having an engulfing candle trying to spring out of this channel. So at this point, I will be advising us to have our buy stop orders sitting right above the $78.30 level to trigger a buy position at this point. And if it so happens that price action continues to the upside, followed by buying pressure like a retest of structure, multiple times, this will definitely welcome additional position to our existing buy position in this current market. So this is what we are going to be looking forward to buy the US oil for today. However, in as much as we continue to look out for buy opportunity, like I always say here on our morning live session, I used to advise that even though we are having a particular bias in mind, we should keep our mind open for a possible reversal situation. That is, price might likely go the opposite direction. So if that is going to be happening, definitely we want to be positioning ourselves in such a way that we can catch that move. And with the current situation we have here, price action trapped within a channel between the $78.30 level and the $77.50 area, you would agree with me that we are at a critical point. And if we take into consideration the multiple rejection of the $78.30 level in the last 10-15 hours now, it is very likely that sellers might come in this market. And don't forget that we have a supply zone which is just quite close by before we saw that breakout of that structure happen here. So in order to catch a sell momentum here, that is, if price goes the other way, then we want to be focusing below the $77.50 level, which also shares a beautiful confluence with that bullish trend line. So how do we use this structure to guide selling opportunities at this point? Well, what I'll be looking forward to sell the US oil from this current structure is to see price action break down that $77.50 level. And one thing I will advise us here is that if we consider the fact that price has been bullish since the beginning of this week, definitely we don't want to just jump right into a breakdown of a trend line like that, as it could turn out to be a false breakdown. So what we want to be doing here is to remain patient, then wait for further confirmations to happen before we join that decline to the downside. So what we are going to be looking forward to is to see price action do some couple of retest of structure, like selling pressure below the $77.50 level. Then we want to be joining that sell position from that area. So what this simply means is that we want to be seeing selling pressure below the $77.50 level after a breakdown of that bullish trend line to give us a beautiful confirmation to join a decline to the downside. I can see comment here. Watch check rebel. Okay, it's okay. I'm glad to have you around. We are going to be treating the GBPUSD in a couple of moments. Please try to stay tuned in so that you don't miss out on that. I'm so excited to have you around. Good morning. All right, so that is my view here on the US oil. So we're having our buy stop order sitting above the $78.30 level, looking out for additional position to our existing trade. And for those who are taking advantage of the buy opportunity here, we are already running with about 55-60 pips in profit. Ensure you move your stop loss to your entry point area to secure this current position. And if price action breaks out of the $78.30 level, then definitely we want to be shifting our stop loss to somewhere probably right around the $77.80 level. So let's see how this plays out in the next couple of hours, and be rest assured that I will be jumping in the comment section on my TradingView platform to give you an update if there are any surprises springing out from this current structure. So try as much as possible to be with me on my TradingView platform. You can flag the US oil publication so that whenever I drop an update, you will be notified in that regard. So that is that on the US oil. If you do have any questions, feel free to drop your inquiries in the comment section. So I will be moving on to the next pair right now, and if there are any questions, I will be jumping back into explain what clarifications you need. So the next pair we are going to be looking at this morning is the USDJPY. Now, since the beginning of this week, let's run through that and see how well we have been doing on the USDJPY. Well, since the beginning of the week, the USDJPY has been quite choppy in this market, as there has been some buys and sells between a range which has lasted for about 96 hours at this particular point in time. Now, a quick review of what has been happening here since the beginning of the week. Well, initially at the beginning of the week, we identified a channel which was spotted between the 136.150, which was the resistance point of the channel, and the 136.00 area, which is serving as a support level of that channel. Though we had some buying opportunity at the beginning of the week, I think on the 28th of February, we had a buy position triggered here, which I did an update on my TradingView platform. Let us run through that for the sake of clarity. Okay, so we have the USDJPY here. Then I shared my commentary for what day is that? I think on the 28th of February. So I had, okay, this is it here, right here. So I had this 15 minutes time frame uploaded prior to the Asian session on that day, where we were looking out for either a breakout of the 136.250 level or the breakdown of the 136.100 area for trading opportunities. And lucky enough, our buy stop order was triggered at the breakout of the 136.250 level, which continued to move price to the upside here, as you can see. So going back into the live chart right now, we saw how price jumped above the structure, break out this 136.550 level, welcoming additional position there. So we had about 70 pips movement in our direction on the first position, and on the second position we had about 35 pips in our direction before this bearish momentum started around this area. And one thing I made mention of during this live session on Tuesday was that if it so happens that price action breaks this trend line here, which also shares a confluence with the 136.550 level, we shall definitely be selling the USDJPY. So in that regard, our sell stop order was triggered right below the 136.550 level. That was on Tuesday during the New York session on that day, and price action moved about 120 pips in our direction before that bullish momentum happened. And we also added another position at the breakdown of the 136.00 area, which also moved about 60-70 pips in our direction before this bullish momentum began. Now, during the live session yesterday, we were around here. Okay, we were around here where we were anticipating price action to break out of the 136.550 level for another wave of bullish momentum. And to further guide our trading activity for the UK and New York session, we were able to identify this bullish trend line, which was guiding bullish momentum for like 24 hours. So we said as long as price remain above this bullish trend line and price triggers above the 136.550, we want to have a buy position running there. And in fact, we had a buy stop triggered. Price action moved about 50 to 60 pips in our direction before we started seeing the sell momentum that finally did a breakdown of that bullish trend line. And at this point, it is very obvious that we want to be looking out for selling opportunities at this point, since we already have that breakdown of that trend line, and coupled with the fact that we have been witnessing sudden pressure around the 136.900 level since the beginning of this week. And I shared this on my public platform this morning, where I said a breakdown retest of the 136.550 level will be welcoming additional positions. So those who had missed out on that breakdown, we expect that a retest of structure would happen. Then we could be adding more position to our existing trade. And to further buttress the strength of the sellers in this particular market, what I did here was to connect the series of lower highs and using that as a yardstick for our trading activity for today. So when we connect the series of lower highs here, we have a beautiful bearish trend line, so we continue to look forward to selling opportunities as long as price remain below the trend line and the 136.550 level. So with the situation we have right here, we already have a retest of that structure, triggered our sell position, and price action is currently running in our favor. But one thing about the current structure we are right now, price action is actually running with about 13 pips in profit at this point, and we are beginning to see some buy pressure resume around this area. So we don't need to be fearful about this. Let's hold on to our sell position here. And one thing I said here is that the trend line will continue to guide our selling opportunities here. So as long as price remain below the 136.550 and the bearish trend line here, will remain comfortable in our sell position. Now, what happens if price action breaks out of that trend line? Well, if we do have a breakout of the trend line, a price action climbing above that structure, then we could start suspecting that the trend line may no longer have the capacity to continue to hold selling pressure, hereby giving us a signal of a momentum shift gradually coming in. But even if a breakout of that structure happen, remember, we are not getting too excited with this kind of structure, as we need further confirmation that will confirm that we are actually going bullish on this one. And this will probably come in the form of a retest of structure price action. Following the breakout of the trend line, we might likely see a situation where price drops back into the trend line to do a retest of structure, or probably the 136.550. But most importantly, what we want to be looking out for is buying pressure above the trend line. It could be something like a double bottom structure, a strong reversal pattern from that area. Then we want to be joining a rally to the upside. And now, if price action continues to the upside, we also have another structure at the 136.900 level, which, as you all know, has been a strong selling niche in this market. As you can see, since the beginning of the week, every attempt by the buyers to break out of that structure has been negated by the sellers at every point in time. So we want to see price action take out all the sell positions here by waiting for a breakout of that structure to happen. Then we scale down to our lower time frame, look out for buy pressure above that level. Then we shall be adding more position to our existing trade. So what this current structure simply says is that if price action breaks out of that trend line, we shall be changing our bias on this one. But as long as price remain below the bearish trend line and the 136.550, we continue to hold on to our bearish bias on the USDJPY. So this is my scenario here on the USDJPY. So let's ensure that we be on standby to catch either of these opportunity as price action evolves. If you do have any questions, you want me to make some clarification to an aspect you really don't understand, feel free to drop your inquiries in the comment section. So in that regard, I will be moving on to the next pair, and the next pair we are going to be looking at this morning is the XAUUSD. And in fact, we have been quite profitable on the XAUUSD in the last 24 hours. As you would remember, yesterday we had a situation here where price action was caught within a channel, which further emphasizes the indecision in this market. And I think I had some couple of updates in that regard on my public platform, where I emphasize the fact that we need to be very, very patient and wait out for either a breakout of that channel or breakdown of that channel to give us an opportunity to trade the XAUUSD. So I want to quickly run through what I shared on my public platform for the sake of clarity here. So we are going to be looking at the 2nd of March. So let's zoom down, we go down to the 2nd of March. Okay, so this was the morning of yesterday's live session. Prior to yesterday's live session, where we saw how price action has been consolidating between the $1,836.50 level and the $1,830. And we also had a bearish trend line that was guiding our trading activity for yesterday. And I told you yesterday that for those who had sold below the 136.50 level, we want to be moving our stop loss, secure the current sell position as we look forward to the possibility of the breakdown of the 1,830 level to give us another opportunity to sell. And I told you yesterday that we're going to be using that bearish trend line as a yardstick, as if price action breaks out of that trend line, then that will be negating all bearish expectation in this market. Now we identified the structure. So I said here, just as discussed during our live session this morning, as bearish expectations remain, let's open ourselves up to buying opportunities at the breakout retest of the 1,835 and the bearish trend line. And this is what we saw here. We saw a breakout of that structure. We triggered our buy position. We had a sell stop order below the 1,830, and boom, look at what we saw here over the night. Price action broke out of that structure, and at this point we are in a profit of, at least if you are joined at any of the structure, you would currently be running with approximately 1,000 pips in profit at this point. Now, with the current situation we have right now, congratulations to you if you are taking advantage of that buy opportunity there. So what we want to be doing right now is to secure this current position. We don't want to lose out on whatever we had made so far. So the most appropriate area to move your stop loss based on this current structure, I will be suggesting that somewhere right above the 1,840 level seems most appropriate to secure this current position, as we anticipate a breakout of the 1,845 level, retest of that structure to give us a confirmation to add more position to our existing trade. Now, to further support this continued bullish momentum here, if we look at what has been happening here in the last 24 hours, price action has continued to find higher lows, and as a result of this, we want to be connecting the series of higher lows here to give us a bullish trend line, which we shall be using to guide trading activity for today. So we have a bullish trend line figured out now after connecting the series of higher lows. Now what this simply means is that as long as price remains above this trend line, we shall remain comfortable in our buy position. So if at any point in time price breaks down that trend line, then definitely we might be seeing a momentum shift happening anytime soon. So to further buttress this structure here, I would like to connect. I saw a resistance point here, I think around here at the $1,840.50. So we have something like this here. So I'll be giving this a purple color so that I can differentiate it from the previous structures. So we have the $1,840.50 level. So let's have that mapped out on our chart so that we can use it as a reference point when making decisions on this chart. So this is what we have here right now, and if you look into the past year, you will see how that structure has been a major determinant of price action before the breakout of that structure happened here a couple of hours ago. So we might likely have a situation where price will be dropping back into the structure. As you can see, it also shares a beautiful confluence with that bullish trend line, and if buying pressure resumes above the structure on our lower time frame, then definitely we want to be anticipating another wave of bullish momentum at that point. But if it doesn't happen, that price drops to the downside and instead it continues to find higher highs, then we want to be seeing a breakout retest of the 1,845 level on our lower time frame to be able to add more position to our existing trade on the XAUUSD. Most importantly, we want to see price action take out the sell positions here to give us further confirmation that the buy pressure here might likely continue to the end of the week. So this is my scenario here on the XAUUSD. So for the XAUUSD, we remain bullish here as long as price remain above that bullish trend line. But be rest assured that I will be jumping in the comment section on my TradingView platform to give you an update if there are any surprises that springs up from this current market structure. So in that regard, I will be moving right into the last pair for today, and that is the GBPUSD. Now I would like to take the new chart I shared yesterday on the GBPUSD. So on the GBPUSD, I remember that for the last 48 hours now, we have been selling the GBPUSD, and as at this morning, when I woke up to check the chart, we realized that we have been taken out of all the sell position here, and I hope you all secured your current position by moving your stop loss accordingly to secure that position. So right now, what are we going to be doing as we head into the New York session? Now, one thing which we notice for sure on this chart is that since yesterday, we have been witnessing buy pressure in this market, and as a result of this, if we connect the series of higher lows here, we have a beautiful temporary bullish trend line, which I will be calling a temporary one in the meantime, considering the fact that price has been bearish since the beginning of this week. Now, to further guide our trading activity for today, I would like to extend this bearish trend line a little further so that we can use it as a yardstick for trading activity for today. So we can see we have a bearish trend line since the beginning of the week. Price action had continued to find lower heights, and when we connect the series of lower highs here, this is what you can see on my screen right now. So we are at a beautiful confluence in this market where anything could actually happen from this current structure. So we are currently trading around the 1.198 level, and this has been happening here for the last 4 hours. And another thing that I would also like us to take into consideration here is the fact that that same level has also been a strong demand zone in the past. As you can see, this area has been a strong demand zone in the past. Every time sellers try to break down that structure, we saw buy pressure resume from that area. This also happened on Wednesday here, that is on the first day of this month. We saw selling pressure negated there as well. Not until yesterday during the early hours of during the mid hours of the UK session yesterday, we finally saw the breakdown of that demand zone to give us a clue into the strength of the sellers at this point. And you all know from a technical standpoint, whenever we do have a breakdown like this, breakdown of a significant structure like this, we expect that one point in time, price is likely going to come back, do a retest of structure to incite a trend continuation to the downside. And if you look at the retest, the potential retest of that structure, it shares a beautiful confluence with that same bearish trend line that has been guiding certain momentum since the beginning of this week. So at this point, we need some further confirmations to join any potential opportunity. And in as much as we are looking at selling opportunities here, considering the long-term bearish momentum since the beginning of the week, we cannot ignore the potentials of the buyers at this point. Now look at the structure here. You can see we have a bullish trend line which has been supporting bullish momentum since the beginning of this week, and it could likely lead to the breakout of that 1.198 level, which also shares a confluence with that bearish trend line. So if we do cite a breakout of that structure, retest of structure will definitely be giving us further confirmation that we want to be going bullish. Please note this, even if we do have a breakout of that structure, we want to be very, very careful at this particular point in time, as we need further confirmation to buttress the strength of the buyers at this point. We know that this area has been a strong demand zone. As you can see, during the course of the week, we have been witnessing buy pressure from this area, but I think we need further confirmations to happen. So if a breakout happens, which appears to be happening right now, we don't want to jump right into that position, as we need price action to do some retest of the structure on our lower time frame. Then we could join that rally to the upside from that area. I will be scaling down to the lower time frame for us to have a look into that, but I quickly want to share something here about the selling expectation in this market, that is the bearish expectation in this market. Now that we have a situation where price is trading around that bearish trend line, there's still a likelihood that sellers could come in. And look at the last candle here, the last hour. We can see price action, the candle closed in the form of a shooting star candle, giving us a clue that sellers are still very strong in this market. So for me to sell the GBPUSD for today, I want to see the bullish trend line here broken to the downside. So if this bullish trend line is broken to the downside, then this will, for me, be a signal that a bearish trend continuation is going to be happening in this market. So if a breakdown happens and if the market gives us an opportunity like a retest of structure respecting that bearish trend line, which has been supporting selling momentum since the beginning of the week, then I want to be joining that decline to the downside. And for conscious traders, you might want to look forward to price breaking down the 1.195 level, probably have your sell stop order sitting below that structure to join that decline to the downside. For me personally, if it breaks down the bullish trend line outrightly, I will be joining right away, as it makes more sense as long as price remain below the 1.198. It's very appropriate to be selling the GBPUSD. Now, talking about the bullish expectation here, as we begin to see buy pressure resume above that bearish trend line, I would like us to scale down to a much more lower time frame. Let's see what structure the market is evolving into around the 1.198 level to decide if we are going to be buying. So in that regard, I will be scaling down to, let's use the 15 minutes time frame for this scenario here, and let's zoom into the current structure and see what is really going on here. So this is the 1.198 level, which I told you earlier shares a beautiful confluence with a bearish trend line. And if we bring out our line chart here so that we can have specific points of connection, we should be identifying the resistance point of that consolidation phase here. So we have something like this. So we have let's see, 1.19850. okay, so we have the 1.19850 level. Let's figure that out for the sake of clarity. Place it at the top right hand side of our screen here. All right, then we have the support level of that channel sitting somewhere around here, which falls around, hold on a second, we'll figure out that very soon. So we have 1.19730. okay, so 1.19730 level is at the bottom right hand side. So we have a beautiful channel. So we can see price is trapped within a channel right now, just around that major confluence at the 1.198 level, which shares a confluence with our bearish trend line. So it has been bearish since the beginning of the week, and I told you that if price action drops below that bearish trend line, and it will be a beautiful signal to sell. So with the current structure here, how do we intend to use this during the UK and New York session today? Well, I will be having a buy stop order above the 1.19850 level. If price action breaks out, retest that structure, it will be a beautiful opportunity for me to join that trend continuation to the upside. But if price action breaks down the 1.19730 level, selling pressure below that structure, it will be a beautiful opportunity for me to sell. So I will be having a sell stop order sitting right below the 1.19730 to join a bearish momentum from this current market structure, and a buy stop order sitting above the 1.19850 level to join a rally to the upside from this area. So let's see how price action is going to play out from this current structure. A breakout of this structure definitely will be giving us a signal of where price action will be going for today. So if you have your buy stop order right here, then your stop loss should be somewhere right below the structure, and if you have your sell stop order right below this level, your stop loss should be somewhere right around the 1.19900 level. So on this note, I want to be calling it a day here. If you have any questions, feel free to drop it in the comment section. And one thing I would like to say here is that if you are following me on my TradingView platform, you'll have the opportunity to see my updates on all of these pairs that we've talked about here. So if there are any surprises, I will definitely be sharing it in the commentary of my publication on the TradingView platform. So on this note, I wish you best of luck today, and I also wish you a wonderful and beautiful weekend in that regard. So thank you guys for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the comment section on my TradingView platform as always. Do have a wonderful evening. Bye bye.